At exactly 3:17 a.m. on September 9th, 2024, thousands of people across the world received the same notification, a blank message. No sender, no metadata, no trace and carrier logs. Some dismissed it as a glitch, until a few curious individuals opened the file hidden inside it, an audio clip only 3 seconds long. A low-frequency hum, a faint whisper, and a set of coordinates, right in the center of the Pacific Ocean. Minutes later, every copy of the message vanished, erased remotely, not by hackers, but by something that left no digital footprint at all, something capable of deleting data across devices that weren't even connected to the internet at the time. Tonight, we dive into the forbidden, stories buried under continents, facilities erased from satellite maps, testimonies silenced before they were ever spoken. This is not a video about mysteries. It is a video about suppressed history, history that someone, somewhere, has been trying to keep hidden. But before we begin, I need to warn you, everything in this video comes from declassified fragments, leaked field notes, and eyewitness reports that were never supposed to reach the public. If any part makes you uncomfortable, remember, you clicked this video for a reason. Something in you wanted to know the truth. So let's start where all forbidden stories begin, with a civilization that existed long before our own, and whose ruins continue to pulse with energy beneath the ocean floor. Every culture on Earth speaks of a civilization that came before them. The Sumerians called them the Anunnaki. The Greeks called them the Titans. The Hopi tribes referred to them as the first people. And the Egyptians? They simply called them the Zep Tepi, the people of the first time. Official historians treat these accounts as mythology, nothing more. But in 2013, an underwater drone surveying the Tonga Trench recorded something extraordinary. A colossal stone formation arranged in a perfect spiral. 27 concentric rings, each aligned with astronomical precision. When researchers attempted to bring the images to the surface, every storage device malfunctioned. Not corrupted, wiped clean. The drone itself shut down and imploded under a pressure it had previously withstood with no issues. 2 weeks later, the entire research team signed lifelong NDAs. The lead geologist resigned and disappeared. Her social media accounts were erased. Her university profile was removed. To this day, she has never been seen again. In 2018, a structure was discovered under the ice of West Antarctica. A perfect tetrahedral formation, 2.3 miles wide. Radar scans revealed internal chambers. But what truly terrified the military wasn't the size, it was the material. The geometric density didn't match stone, metal, or any known compound. The molecular arrangement was non-terrestrial, something we cannot replicate, even with modern nanotechnology. And inside the first chamber, researchers found glyphs, symbols identical to those found in Göbekli Tepe, Sumer, and the Indus Valley. Civilizations separated by thousands of miles and thousands of years, yet sharing the same iconography. How can cultures that supposedly never interacted carve the same symbols? Unless they were all remembering the same original source. Humanity is not 6,000 years old. It is not 10,000 years old. The new evidence, suppressed evidence, suggests humanity has risen and fallen multiple times. High civilizations emerge, reach technological heights, and then vanished, leaving behind only fragments. Imagine an ancient society with knowledge of astronomy so advanced they could track pulsars invisible to the naked eye. Imagine a civilization with energy sources that produce no heat signature. Imagine structures capable of generating resonant frequencies detected today as anomalous seismic activity. What if the ruins we dismiss as simple stone temples were once power stations? What if the myths of flying machines were memories of a technology we no longer understand?
In 1997, a classified NATO team exploring a submerged cave system off the coast of Malta found something far older than expected. Obsidian discs etched with microscopic patterns. These discs were not carvings. They were recordings. Digital-like data, encoded in a way no ancient culture could have created. The patterns matched signal modulations used in modern quantum computing. The disks were dated to 28,000 years old. The moment the discovery was uploaded to the internal server, the Deep Archive, the highest restricted clearance level in the Alliance, activated a total lockdown. The disks were shipped to an undisclosed location. The dive team was reassigned, and the cave, once a public diving hotspot, collapsed mysteriously just a week later.
One artifact survived, photographed before the data purge. A small palm-sized object resembling a compass, except the needle didn't point north, it pointed somewhere beneath the Earth's crust. Always in motion, always shifting, and when placed near certain minerals, it reacted violently. Scientists concluded only one thing. The object was tracking a moving energy source, something ancient, something alive. And whatever it is, it's still down there.
Civilizations that came before us achieved levels of understanding far beyond our own. Then the question becomes simple. What exactly were they studying? What were they trying to reach or protect themselves from? Across ancient cultures, one symbol appears again and again. A doorway, a portal, a passage between worlds. The Mayans carved it into stone. The Egyptians built entire temples around it. The Dogon tribes of Mali described beings who emerged through these doors, travelers from a star system they couldn't possibly have seen with the naked eye. These beings were not gods, not aliens, but something far stranger. Entities that existed just outside our frequency of perception. Dimensional beings. In 2004, during a private research project in the Atacama Desert, a team of physicists conducted an experiment using harmonic resonance. They generated a pure 432 Hz tone inside an abandoned stone structure believed to be pre-Incan. For 4.7 seconds, reality behaved incorrectly. The air shimmered, static electricity surged upward, and in the corner of the structure, the researchers reported seeing a silhouette, tall, thin, featureless, standing perfectly still as if watching them. When the tone ceased, the figure vanished, not by fading away or moving away, it simply blinked out, as if it had never been there. 3 of the researchers quit physics entirely. 1 suffered a nervous breakdown. The study never reached publication.
Ancient texts describe individuals whose sole purpose was to monitor the boundaries between dimensions. Gatekeepers. These weren't priests. They weren't rulers. They were observers. The Tibetan Book of the Dead references the watchers between worlds. The Zoroastrian texts speak of the Mazdaya's guardians, who protected humanity from entities that existed in the spaces between moments. The Egyptians carved murals of tall humanoid beings holding staffs that emitted light, not fire, not magic, but plasma. These gatekeepers were said to possess knowledge passed down from the first civilization, knowledge that allowed them to open and close dimensional thresholds. And then, suddenly, all records stopped, as if they vanished overnight across multiple continents at the exact same point in history.
In 2021, a private archaeological team conducting LiDAR scans in the Amazon discovered something shocking. A perfectly geometric grid underneath 6,000 years of jungle overgrowth. But at the center of this grid was a rectangular void, like a building whose interior was made of material the scanner couldn't penetrate. When researchers attempted to approach the site, GPS units malfunctioned.
Compasses spun wildly. Drones lost signal, and the temperature around the structure dropped by 7 degrees within a 40-meter radius. Locals warned the team not to continue. They spoke of the Standing Ones, tall, silent figures that guarded the forest long before their ancestors existed. That night, 2 team members reported seeing a shadowy figure standing outside their camp. When they approached it, the figure moved, but not like a human. It glided, as if floating. The next morning, the team abandoned the expedition. The coordinates were never published, and the sponsoring organization, Orion Geospatial, mysteriously dissolved the following month.
In 1933, a British explorer discovered a strange artifact in the Sahara, a metallic ring etched with symbols not belonging to any known culture. The ring emitted a faint vibration, almost undetectable, but constant. When placed against stone, it created a subtle distortion, like heat-warmed air. Modern analysis suggests the ring produced a localized electromagnetic field capable of manipulating space by a fraction of a micrometer. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't jewelry. It was a key, a dimensional key. But a key to what?
Every ancient culture speaks of a moment when the veil between worlds will thin again, when the gatekeepers must return, or humanity must face what lies beyond alone. Some say the gates open naturally every 12,960 years, and according to the Zep Tepi calendar, the next opening is overdue.
In the winter of 1957, during a routine flyover above the Canadian tundra, a U.S. Air Force pilot noticed something strange on the ice. An enormous geometric shadow, perfectly symmetrical, perfectly unnatural. Satellite imaging was still in its infancy, but reconnaissance teams quickly realized what they had found: the tip of a massive structure buried deep beneath the frozen ground. A pyramid, larger than Giza, larger than any known man-made monument. When excavation began, it became obvious the structure wasn't made of stone. Its surface absorbed radar. It absorbed infrared. It absorbed everything. A material so dark, so non-reflective, that even light seemed to sink into it. A perfect void in the shape of a pyramid. They named it the Black Pyramid. Inside, researchers found tunnels so smooth they appeared machine-cut. No chisel marks, no erosion, no seams. And deeper still, they found an energy source. Not a generator, not a reactor, a sphere. Floating several inches above its pedestal, the sphere emitted a pulse once every 22 minutes. A low-frequency oscillation that caused instruments to fail, compasses to spin, and human subjects to experience hallucinations, visions of symbols, landscapes, even memories that weren't their own. The military classified the entire project under the codename Hyperion. All personnel had to undergo weekly psychological evaluations. Several refused to return after the second visit. One scientist claimed the sphere showed him the end of everything. He was reassigned. 2 weeks later, he vanished.
In 1971, a young radio technician monitoring classified frequencies picked up an unusual signal, a repeating pattern, 3 tones, then silence. 3 tones, then silence. When analysts decrypted the signal, they realized it wasn't random. It was a coordinate set, pointing directly to the Black Pyramid. Someone, or something, was calling to it.
In October 1992, commercial flights flying over Western Canada reported a sudden power loss mid-flight. Instrument panels flickered, cabin lights dimmed. For 3 full minutes, aircraft systems behaved as if they were flying through a massive electromagnetic field. The source? A burst originating from the coordinates of the Black Pyramid. Yet officially, the structure doesn't exist. It appears on no maps. It appears on no geological surveys. It is a blank space on satellite images.
In 2003, a whistleblower, military geophysicist Dr. Jared Mallory, claimed the Black Pyramid was not built. It was buried. Buried intentionally, as if someone had tried to hide it from the surface world. He described a chamber deep beneath the pyramid, containing a massive crystalline object, not a sphere, something else, something alive. Mallory's testimony was dismissed as delusion. He died of heart complications during a routine checkup 3 weeks later. But 2 days before his death, he left a message to a colleague. "We did not find it. It woke up."
In 2014, classified seismic readings near the structure detected a pulse repeating every 11 hours, perfectly consistent, perfectly unnatural. A rhythm, a heartbeat. The same frequency was detected near 2 other classified locations, one beneath the ocean floor near Easter Island and one under the sands of the Gobi Desert. 3 structures, 3 pulses, 1 pattern.
A leaked memo from 2019 revealed the existence of a classified division within the U.S. Department of Defense known as the Continuity of Civilization Task Group. Their stated mission? Monitoring and preparing for potential reactivation of non-human technological artifacts. Not singular, plural, meaning they know there are more. And the most disturbing part, the memo states these structures are not weapons, but communication devices, beacons. Something built them, something buried them, and something out there might still be listening.
There are places on Earth where the silence feels engineered, as if the land itself is trying to conceal something buried far beneath its surface. As we travel deeper into the forgotten zones of the world, we begin to encounter patterns, structures half swallowed by the sand, mountain ranges that look carved rather than naturally formed, and ruins that seem to predate the very idea of civilization. Among these, one region stands out, a remote desert plateau where strange geometric shadows appear only at sunrise and sunset. Locals speak of it as a cursed land, a place where travelers disappear, where compasses spin aimlessly, and where even animals refuse to approach. But satellite imagery reveals something else entirely. Massive squares, straight lines stretching kilometers, and symmetrical arcs that resemble the blueprint of a vanished city. What kind of city leaves behind no artifacts, no tools, no pottery, no bones, only colossal geometric scars? Some researchers claim these patterns are remnants of an antediluvian civilization wiped out by a global catastrophe. Others insist they are the foundations of a structure built not for the living, but for the sky. These theories grow louder when we consider that many ancient cultures spoke of sky gods, beings descending from above in fiery chariots, offering knowledge and leaving behind monuments aligned with the stars. In this desert, every structure points toward the same constellation, Orion. But the alignments are so precise, so mathematically perfect, that it suggests a level of astronomical understanding far beyond what mainstream history allows. As night falls, the wind moves across the plateau like a whisper, carrying with it stories of watchers, tall, luminous beings said to appear at the edges of the dunes. Are these merely desert hallucinations, or echoes of something humanity has forgotten? Whether these ruins are remnants of a lost human race or traces of something non-human, one truth remains. This landscape did not shape itself. Someone or something designed it. And whatever it was, it wanted to be found only by those who knew exactly where to look.
Far beneath the seas lies another world, so vast, so unexplored, that even today, more than 80% of it remains untouched by human eyes. And yet, fragments of impossible structures have been discovered in the darkest depths. Towering cliffs carved into straight vertical faces, staircase-like formations descending into the abyss, and massive stone blocks lying in perfect alignment as if part of a collapsed fortress. One such structure rests off the coast of a remote island, a submerged megalith that resembles a giant stepped pyramid. Divers report that the stones are cut with razor precision, forming right angles that nature almost never produces at such scale. Embedded within these stones are peculiar metallic particles that do not match any local geology, suggesting either the stones were transported from afar or engineered using unknown techniques. Even stranger are the inscriptions, symbols etched into the stone, worn by millennia of currents, yet still recognizable. They depict humanoid figures standing beside enormous serpents, celestial diagrams, and scenes of floods washing over cities. Mythologists connect these carvings to stories of great deluges, of civilizations swallowed by the sea after defying the gods. But oceanographers find something more unsettling. The carvings show coastlines and continents arranged differently than they are today, as if drawn by someone who witnessed the world before the last ice age. And then there are the sounds, deep rhythmic pulses detected by hydrophones, echoing from the direction of the ruins. They repeat in patterns, too structured to be random, too mechanical to belong to marine life. Some researchers speculate these are remnants of ancient machines, still operating, still transmitting, still waiting. Others believe the sounds are warnings, signals meant to keep intruders away. The ocean floor is littered with anomalies that defy explanation. Yet each discovery leads us closer to the same conclusion. Long before the rise of our known civilizations, there existed a culture capable of engineering on a planetary scale. And if their greatest monuments now lie underwater, what else lies hidden in the darkness below?
Across remote forests and isolated mountain ranges, people whisper about creatures that shouldn't exist. Giant shadowy figures, winged beings, glowing-eyed watchers, and beasts described in ancient texts yet dismissed by modern science. But the stories persist. Reports emerge from hikers, indigenous tribes, soldiers, even government workers. Tales of encounters with entities that defy biological logic. In one dense northern forest, local hunters speak of a towering figure that moves silently despite its massive size, leaving behind footprints too deep to belong to any known animal. Some describe seeing it observing them from between the trees, its outline shimmering as if slightly out of phase with reality. Thermal cameras record heat signatures that resemble humanoid shapes, yet vanish without a trace. In another region, villagers tell of winged beings descending at night, their wingspan stretching wider than a small aircraft. These sightings often accompany unexplained power outages, electromagnetic disturbances, and strange circular burn marks on the ground. Scientists blame atmospheric phenomena, but locals insist they have heard the creatures' metallic screeches and felt the wind from their wings. And then there are the underground entities, creatures said to live in vast subterranean tunnel networks that stretch beneath entire countries. These stories span continents: reptilian humanoids in South America, pallid humanoids in Eastern Europe, shadow-like beings beneath Asian mountains. Reports are eerily similar despite originating thousands of kilometers apart. What if these myths are remnants of ancient knowledge, warnings left by early humans who encountered species now hidden from the surface world? Geneticists have discovered fragments of unknown DNA within human genomes, pieces that do not match any known life form. Could these be traces of past interactions with beings now long forgotten? Whether these creatures are survivors of prehistoric epochs, remnants of a parallel evolutionary branch, or something far stranger, one fact lingers like a cold breath on the back of the neck. Humanity may not be the only intelligent presence inhabiting this planet, and the others may prefer the dark.
There are regions on Earth where the fabric of reality appears thin, where time behaves like a living thing, stretching, folding, looping back on itself. These places are marked not by grand monuments or ancient ruins, but by something far more unsettling: disappearances that defy logic, radio signals that echo from nowhere, and moments where the world seems to pause, as if holding its breath. Deep in the northern wilderness, there is a valley known only in fragmentary records and whispered folklore. Locals refuse to enter it, insisting that the valley does not belong to this earth. Those who have ventured into its depths speak of strange distortions, the sky turning unnaturally bright even on cloudy days, shadows bending in directions that contradict the sun, and a persistent buzzing under the ground, like the hum of enormous machinery buried far below. One explorer described feeling as though invisible hands were pulling at the edges of his mind, urging him to turn back. His compass spun wildly, his GPS malfunctioned, and the air around him vibrated with static electricity so dense that it caused the hair on his arms to stand upright. As he walked deeper into the valley, he noticed the trees around him had grown twisted, not by wind or erosion, but as though some unseen force had molded them like clay. Their trunks curved into smooth spirals, their branches drooping like molten metal. Even more disturbing were the rocks, smooth, glass-like, as if melted by intense heat, yet arranged in perfect arcs and concentric circles. Nature rarely produces such order on its own. Scientists who later examined the area detected intense electromagnetic anomalies, including frequencies that do not match any known natural source. Some suggested underground mineral deposits. Others quietly proposed something far stranger: a dimensional rift, a scar where two realities may have brushed against each other long ago. Throughout history, indigenous tribes spoke of this valley as a door, a passage used by beings who were neither dead nor alive, neither human nor God. These beings, described as tall figures with featureless faces, would appear on foggy mornings, leaving behind strange footprints that glowed faintly before fading away. The tribes warned their children never to follow the light in the valley, for those who did were said to vanish forever. Modern reports echo these ancient fears. Hikers have gone missing in daybreak light, leaving behind camping gear perfectly intact, as if they simply evaporated. Rescue teams found trails that ended abruptly, footprints that continued for meters and then stopped mid-stride.
Some teams reported hearing faint voices calling their names from deep within the forest, even though no one was there. One ranger described seeing a figure standing at the edge of the valley, tall, thin, motionless, its silhouette shimmering as though caught between dimensions. When he approached, the figure dissolved into a haze of static electricity, leaving behind the smell of ozone and a metallic taste in the air. The deeper one looks into this valley's history, the darker it becomes. Classified documents reference an abandoned government project, an attempt to study what they called spatial irregularities. The files, heavily redacted, mention experiments involving high-frequency energy bursts, gravitational anomalies, and sudden temporal distortions where seconds stretched into minutes. One report described a field operative who returned from the valley speaking in a language no one recognized, with no memory of entering it. Another document referred to disturbances that did not originate from this side. What if these distortions are not accidents of nature, but remnants of an ancient technology, something capable of bending space and time itself, something once used by unforgotten civilization to travel vast distances or slip between dimensions? And what if somewhere beneath the valley, this technology still hums quietly in the dark, flickering to life now and then like a machine waking from a long sleep? The valley remains silent, its secrets buried beneath layers of reality. But those who have witnessed its anomalies agree on one thing: whatever is happening there, it is not meant for human eyes. There are places where the earth bleeds heat from wounds older than humanity, vents where the crust thins like worn leather, revealing a glimpse of something ancient below. One such place lies hidden beneath an ocean trench so deep that sunlight has never touched its floor. Officially, it is known as a geothermal anomaly. Unofficially, among the few who have studied it, it is called the Furnace Gate. For decades, governments have denied its existence, insisting that the sonar distortions recorded in the region are simply equipment malfunctions. But the truth is far stranger and far more unsettling than any mechanical glitch. At the center of this abyss, the seafloor is carved into geometric channels, long parallel trenches forming a pattern too precise to be natural. The edges are smooth, almost polished, as if cut by a colossal machine, one not built by any civilization we know. Submersibles sent into the area report inexplicable failures, power drains, camera blackouts, corrupted navigation systems. In the brief moments when recording equipment has succeeded, the footage reveals something impossible. Glowing veins running through the rock, pulsing faintly like the arteries of a living creature. These veins emit heat signatures far beyond what should exist naturally at those depths, reaching temperatures capable of melting steel. One team of specialists described hearing low-frequency vibrations as their vessel approached the anomaly, deep, resonant tones that seemed almost like a heartbeat. Another team recorded rhythmic pulses in the water pressure, as if something massive was exhaling far down in the trench. Although these accounts were dismissed publicly, internal communications tell a different story. Several divers reported overwhelming feelings of dread, as though they were being watched from the darkness. One diver returned to the surface trembling, unable to speak for hours. When he finally regained his voice, he spoke of eyes glowing beneath the earth and structures that breathe. Long before modern nations claimed ownership of the ocean, ancient civilizations recorded myths of entrances to the underworld hidden beneath the sea. The Greeks called them gates of fire beneath the waves. Pacific Islanders spoke of a red ocean that boils without flame. Even the Sumerians carved symbols representing stairs descending into molten caverns. These myths, scattered through time and geography, share one detail: a place where the planet opens like a living mouth, revealing a realm of heat and darkness far below. What makes the Furnace Gate so unsettling is that these old legends describe it with eerie accuracy. Recently declassified seismic readings from the region show rhythmic tremors, pulses at perfect intervals like machinery switching on and off in slow cycles. Geological experts cannot explain it. Thermal maps reveal expanding pockets of heat beneath the crust, arranged in symmetrical formations. And the chemical composition of gases escaping from the vents matches no known volcanic activity. Instead, they contain metallic traces, elements forged only under extreme artificial conditions. Some researchers quietly suggest an ancient power source may lie beneath the trench, perhaps a reactor built by a lost civilization long before ours rose from the mud. Others argue it might not be technology at all, but a biological superstructure, a gigantic organism fused into the planet's crust, its veins glowing with internal heat. But one theory overshadows the rest, whispered only by those who have studied the recordings firsthand: that the Earth itself might not be a solid sphere as we've been told, but a layered shell, hollow chambers connected by vents like this one, breathing in slow, colossal patterns. And deep within those chambers may exist things beyond our understanding. The most disturbing evidence comes from an unmanned probe that descended deeper into the trench than any vessel before it. For 11 minutes, it transmitted footage of something moving in the darkness, massive shadows drifting past the glowing veins of rock. At first, researchers believed the movements were caused by shifts in the water, but then the shadows changed direction. They moved against the currents. They curved around the probe. At one point, a dark shape passed so close that it blocked all light, its outline enormous and unmistakably deliberate. The probe's final transmission was a sound, a long, resonant noise, like metal being dragged across metal, yet layered with something organic, almost like a low roar. Moments later, its connection was severed. The device was never recovered. For years, authorities concealed these findings, burying the incident under layers of scientific jargon and national security directives. But rumors leaked, spreading among oceanographers, geologists, and classified military teams. Those who heard the recordings described an unmistakable pattern. The heat pulses, the vibrations, the shadow movements, they all seemed synchronized, as though responding to something, as though waiting. If there truly is a gateway beneath the ocean, a wound where ancient forces still stir, then humanity may be standing above something far more powerful than we ever imagined, something alive, something intelligent, something old enough to remember a time before humans walked the earth, and perhaps a time when humans were not welcome.
There are ruins scattered across the world that do not belong to any known civilization, enigmatic structures carved with impossible precision, constructed with techniques that defy modern engineering, and aligned with celestial patterns older than recorded history. These ruins share no language, no culture, no geography, yet they echo the same symbols, the same geometry, the same silent message etched in stone. Archaeologists explain them away as coincidences. Historians call them anomalies. But those who have stood before these forgotten structures, who have felt the cold geometry pulsing beneath the surface, know there is something far deeper hidden in their foundations, a blueprint of a civilization far older than humanity itself. Across deserts, jungles, and frozen wastelands, the stones whisper the same message. They were here before us. One of the most mysterious of these sites lies deep in a desert so remote that military satellite footage is the only reason the world knows it exists. The site is a massive plateau carved into a perfect octagon, its sides aligned with astronomical precision to stars that no longer exist in the visible sky. Within the octagon are hundreds of pillars, each etched with symbols that glow faintly at night, reflecting an internal luminescence that no one can explain. When researchers first approached the site, their equipment malfunctioned instantly. Batteries drained in seconds, compasses spun wildly, and radios filled with static that grew into a rhythmic pulse, like a coded message being transmitted through the stone itself. The pillars vibrate at a barely perceptible frequency, and when several are touched simultaneously, the vibrations synchronize, creating harmonic tones that echo across the plateau. These tones are not random. They follow a mathematical sequence identical to one found in deep space radio bursts detected in the last decade, bursts that many believe are of artificial origin. It is as though the ruins are trying to communicate, using sound as a kind of key, a code, a memory locked in stone. Ancient cultures across the world spoke of sky teachers who descended from above, bearing knowledge, tools, and warnings. They taught early humans astronomy, agriculture, mathematics, skills far beyond the capabilities of primitive societies. But these myths all end the same way. The teachers vanished suddenly, leaving behind monuments that pointed to the stars, as if reminding humanity where they came from or where they went. One scroll discovered beneath a collapsed temple in the Middle East speaks of a time when the gods walked among men and the stars bowed to their presence. Another carving found deep in the Amazon depicts tall, elongated beings carrying devices that emit beams of light, beams drawn exactly like modern lasers. How could cultures separated by oceans and centuries carve the same beings, the same tools, the same symbols? Some researchers believe the ruins may be remnants of a lost global civilization, one that achieved extraordinary technological feats before being wiped out by a cataclysmic event. But others propose a far more disturbing possibility, that these beings were not human at all, but visitors, travelers from a distant world or another dimension, who used Earth as a temporary sanctuary before disappearing again into the stars. What makes this theory unsettling is that many of the ruins appear deliberately incomplete, as though dismantled or shut down, like machines turned off before an evacuation. Several contain chambers filled with melted stone, as if they were exposed to extreme heat too intense to be caused by natural fire or volcanic activity. One chamber in particular, buried beneath centuries of sand, holds what appears to be a massive circular platform, carved with interlocking grooves and metallic traces. Some call it a landing pad. Others say it resembles a portal, an ancient gateway, once capable of opening the fabric of space itself. But the most shocking discovery came during a recent expedition when a researcher deciphered part of the symbols etched into the pillars. The translation, though incomplete, revealed a chilling message. We will return when the cycle ends. What cycle were they referring to? A cycle of time? A cosmic alignment? A cataclysmic event that repeats across millennia? Astronomers have long known that Earth experiences cyclical cosmic phenomena, solar flares, magnetic pole shifts, meteor swarms, gravitational anomalies, events that occur on predictable scales. Some of these cycles line up eerily well with periods of mass extinction recorded in Earth's fossil record. Could the ancient beings have survived these cycles? Could they have warned humanity that such a cycle is coming again? There are signs that the next great cycle may already be beginning. Sudden increases in seismic activity across tectonic plates that have been dormant for centuries. Disruptions in Earth's magnetic field, including rapid shifts that no scientist can fully explain.
Strange atmospheric phenomena witnessed from the poles to the equator. Lights without a source, spiraling clouds, unexplained temperature spikes. Even animals, migratory birds, bees, are changing their behaviors as though reacting to forces we cannot see. Some believe the ancient ruins were built not only as markers, but as mechanisms, devices designed to activate during critical cosmic events. If so, then something may soon reawaken them. And if the message carved in stone is true, if these beings intend to return at the end of the cycle, then humanity may be standing at the threshold of a revelation that will rewrite everything we know about our origins, our history, and our future. For now, the ruins remain silent, but those who have felt their vibrations, who have heard the strange harmonics reverberating through stone, insist the silence is not permanent. The stones are waiting. The cycle is turning. And something ancient, something that once walked the earth long before humans, may soon rise again.
There exists a kind of record-keeping that never made it into museums or libraries. It lives instead in the margins of maps, encoded in the seams of the earth, whispered in the panic of leaking field notes, and the last words of men who were never heard from again. These are the hidden archives, caches of knowledge assembled by those who anticipated collapse, by those who saw cycles and prepared, by those who tried to preserve what the next world might otherwise forget. They are not neat stacks of paper in tidy rooms. They are obelisks buried beneath layer upon layer of geology, metallic cylinders secreted into cave systems, crystalline data plates sealed behind stone doors, and patterns carved into bedrock that, when read correctly, unfold like a map of technology and warning. The thing about archives is that they presume a reader. Someone created them with the clear intention that another intelligence, human or otherwise, would one day stand before them, understand the key, and act. Most of the so-called leaks we have today are the debris from these caches, a blurred photo of a glyph, a half-translated set of symbols, command line snippets from a server that should never have existed. But the pattern within the debris is consistent. The architects who hid these things were not simply builders or priests. They were stewards. They recorded not just technical schematics, but moral instructions, ritualized procedures meant to be followed in moments of planetary distress, how to shut down systems that could unbalance climates, how to isolate devices capable of resonant amplification, how to recognize the markers of a returning cycle. Some of the plates discuss hardware so efficient that it left no thermal signature, and so precise that it seemed to operate upon the lattice of reality itself. One plate, recovered in fragments and reconstructed by a team who dared to speak about it, described a sequence of gates and warned, "Do not open more than one at a time. Do not align more than 3. If the beats synchronize, do not stand between them." The language is metaphoric, because whatever they described probably defied ordinary engineering, operations at scales that altered fields and bent paths of particles and light. Governments talk about these things in euphemisms: non-terrestrial artifacts, anomalous energy sources, legacy tech. The leaked memos that actually matter are dry, bureaucratic, terrifying only in their casualness. A single sentence: Archive B17 requires containment protocol breach if modulation exceeds threshold. And the rest of the paragraph assumes the reader already knows what that means. There are hidden libraries cataloging devices that can amplify consciousness, records of rituals that synchronize human perception, suppressed ethnographies that correlate the sudden disappearance of cultures with specific electromagnetic signatures. And while the custodians of those archives initially intended them to rescue a future civilization, history shows how hoarding breeds conflict. Once a secret is known to a few, it becomes a weapon, a bargaining chip, a reason to erase other evidence. Thus, the archives are both salvation and curse. They promise knowledge that could avert catastrophe, and yet by their existence provoke the greed and fear that lead to deeper destruction. The final irony is perhaps the cruelest, that the people who most feared repetition of the past created an information architecture so complex and morally ambiguous that it almost invites catastrophe anew. If we are to approach the hidden archives at all, we must do so like archaeologists of consequence, slowly, collectively, with rules grounded in ethics rather than in advantage. And if the plates are right and the cycles return, we will wish in the moment of crisis that humility had been encoded alongside power.
Signs are seldom dramatic. They accumulate, misfiled, small, barely noticed. A bird that fails to return on time. A pattern in tree rings. A measurement in ionic flux that seems marginal until another sensor on the opposite side of the world registers the same aberration. If a cycle is returning, it will not arrive with fanfare. It will creep in like a draft under doors, and at first be blamed on weather, on human error, on faulty instruments. But then the coincidences cohere. Migration patterns reverse. Magnetic declinations fluctuate beyond predicted tolerances. Seismic whispers escalate into synchrony. In the archives, they called this phase the gathering. In folklore, they called it the night of signs. The models academics publish remain conservative because careers are built upon predictable results. Yet inside classified briefings, the tone is different, urgent, terse, repeating one line over another until the drip of data becomes a drumbeat. Anomalous alignments increased by X%. Resonance clusters forming along the ancient grid. Probe returns indicating nonlinear field propagation. The old warnings, once dismissed as allegory, the towers will sing, the pillars will call, take on new readability once we overlay ancient geodesic charts with modern telemetry. The very places where the ruins cluster, the nodes of their geometry, correspond eerily with the new hotspots. Underground lakes awakening, deep-sea caverns exhaling heat, deserts showing spectral reflections of structures hidden beneath dunes. What happens when a node becomes active? Observers have cataloged 3 outcomes. The first is the benign, a localized phenomenon, lights, harmonics, animals disoriented, an event that passes and is forgotten. The second is the disruptive, equipment failures, temporary ecology collapse, localized displacement. The third is catastrophic, resonant amplification across nodes that produces a feedback loop, shifting local physics in ways that modern systems are ill-equipped to handle. The archive custodians once debated whether to destroy or to preserve the nodes. Their conclusion, preservation under rigid quarantine, was itself ideological and perilous, because preserving a node preserves its potential for activation. Now, as the subtle signs magnify, different actors weigh their options. States prepare contingency plans. Private institutions bargain for access. Religious groups sermonize about prophecy. And in the shadow of those negotiations, market actors cook up technologies that could exploit the phenomenon. Resonance harvesters, field cutters, dimensional probes. It is the classic problem of knowledge in crisis. Who controls the tool that might save or doom millions? There is also, lurking beneath the data, a social question. Are we psychologically prepared for elders' evidence that our species has been duplicate rather than unique, cyclical rather than progressive? That admission would undo many narratives that modernity relies on: linear progress, human exceptionalism, the inevitability of technical salvation. Yet acceptance is precisely what the archival plans assumed. Their protocols, ritualistic as they are, suggest the first stewards understood that survival depends not on dominion, but on collective restraint. Today, we face a test of ethics more than of engineering. The gathering will not be solved by a single secret weapon or a single whistleblower. It will require humility, an insistence on shared governance of dangerous knowledge, and the political will to act in ways that favored preservation over advantage. The question reduces to this: Will we coordinate, or will the nodes become yet another theater where old rivalries play out and lead to the very disaster we sought to prevent?
The old texts end, almost always, with a call. Not a prophecy of doom, though doom is often described, but a plea. Remember, prepare. Do not repeat our arrogance. In these final fragments, carved across continents in different tongues, the same ethical lesson is inscribed. Knowledge without accountability is the softest soil for ruin. If the ruins and archives and anomalies we have followed throughout this film point to anything, it is that humanity has periodically brushed against complexities it could not assimilate. The implication is terrifying and simple at once. We are not immune to patterns. There is comfort in believing ourselves singular, in thinking that a new technology or a scientific breakthrough will solve every problem. But comfort is not strategy. So what should we do with this information? First, acknowledge that some mysteries are not puzzles for profit, but responsibilities for stewardship. The hidden archives cannot be mined like curiosity commodities. They must be cataloged under global ethical frameworks that prevent unilateral exploitation. Second, create transparent multi-sector councils composed of scientists, indigenous elders, ethicists, engineers, and representatives of civil society to assess risk and define public protocols. Third, invest in distributed, redundant observational networks, transparent sensors maintained by cooperative international consortia, so that when anomalies begin to stir, the data longs to everyone rather than to a few hands. Fourth, and perhaps most difficult, practice restraint. Do not activate devices we do not fully understand. Do not follow the temptation of immediate control. Build safeguards into any interaction with nodes and archives. Lastly, accept that mystery is not the same as malevolence. Some phenomena might simply be beyond human comprehension, neutral in intent but devastating in effect if misused. Our final plea is simple. Act with humility. Read the stones before trying to move them. Listen to the registers in the deep before you think to harness them. And when the nodes blink awake, and if they do, remember that survival is an ethic, not a trophy. If we manage to coordinate, to share, to restrain our worst impulses, we might yet inherit a world where the ancient knowledge acts as a bridge rather than a trap. If we fail, then the patterns we have traced across ruins and archives and oceans will become chapters in the next hidden history, erased again by those who believe that burying truth is safer than sharing it. The choice is finally ours.